Hi everyone, Celeste here, and I'm excited that you're back. This is part 2 of the Partridge Family on the Ladies on a Roll podcast. We're excited to continue the conversation with Paula Faust.
So if you don't mind, I'd like to talk
Yeah.
a little bit about some of the actors. We've been talking about David Cassidy, who pretty much was the star of the show. He really was. There's no doubt about it, because he was a heartthrob, and lots of girls really enjoyed him back in the day. And no TV show had ever produced something like this before, because even though the Brady Bunch started just prior to the Partridge Family, the kids were too young to be heartthrobs. David came in as a heartthrob and changed the history, the dynamic of TV shows from there on out. And he changed a lot of aspects of it. So you can tell later on, after the Partridge Family, that a lot of shows try to reproduce this. They try to reproduce that magic. They try to reproduce all the merchandising and all the, having the kid go out and sing and stuff like that. But I don't think anyone could capture what they had with David Cassidy. And I don't think they could capture what they had with the rest of the cast. As we mentioned earlier, Danny Bonaducci, you said he was 10 years old. He was a young kid. He was smart as heck. Really smart. I saw interviews of him when he was that young. A very smart kid. We explained earlier he had dyslexia, but he had a photographic memory that once he knew the lines, he knew his lines, he knew other people's lines and can correct them. A lot of the cast members would say that Danny was a little bit of a pain in the butt because he was so snarky about it. So I always find that interesting when actors have that photographic memory. Mary Lou Henner is another one who has that, and I'm so jealous. I can barely remember my name when I wake up in the morning. So to be able to memorize lines like that is a jealousy.
The other thing interesting about Danny is he had such a horrific home life, really brought on by his dad.
Yeah.
And so Shirley talks a lot about the fact that she would even bring Danny home on weekends to play with her kids.
And so did Dave Madden, is what it said.
Right.
Dave Madden as well.
Yeah, and Dave Madden really palled around with him and kind of took him under his wing like a real father figure. And then David Cassidy, on the other hand, introduced him to women at age 13.
Well, I think Danny was already there. He was already exposed to adult situations at a young age. So I think he was there a little bit earlier. I saw, if you have a chance to see the little bio he made called Come On, Get Happy, it's on Amazon Prime. It was free for me. I loved it because it did show, this little precocious kid who was the same on screen as he was off screen. So he was a little bit of a handful. But yeah, he clearly had a harsh life with his father, which was unfair, because if anyone did any bit of research on his father was a writer for TV shows. And it's a shame that nobody that knew his father stopped him. And the only one who really kind of did was the mom. She kind of took Danny away a little bit from the situation, but not much. And it was Shirley Jones who stood up and said to Dave Madden, look, we got to take care of Danny because he's coming in with black eyes. And, I was able to find 2 episodes where you see Danny with clearly black eyes.
Really?
Yeah,
I looked for that.
I happened to see, before we agreed to do the show, I happened to see that little documentary just prior to us agreeing to doing this show. And he said he had quite a few episodes where he had black eyes. And sure enough, I found him because he's a freckly faced kid. So what they would do is when they put makeup on him, it would smooth out his skin. And then they didn't quite have the correct makeup skills to darken it out. So they would just pile it on top of his face. And it's really sad. There was a moment in one of the scenes where you could see it, and you just gulp because this is an 8-year-old little boy who's got a black eye.
Yeah. So Shirley has said on multiple interviews that a number of times Danny would come in dirty, not bathed. So they would have to shower him and stuff on the set. And
that's terrible.
She just makes a lot of comments about, which, I think it's admirable of her to talk so fondly of Danny
He
because
does the
Danny,
same. He does the same.
yeah, and
Yeah.
Danny has gotten such a bad rep over the years, you know,
Mhm.
based on some of his actions and stuff. He's the first one to talk about him.
Yeah.
But her and Shirley and David have been so loving to Danny Bonaducci as an
Yeah.
adult. And I think that Danny's success as an adult has to do with the way that they have
Yeah.
promoted him and talk so fondly and stuff about him.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's interesting going back. You mentioned Susan Day,
Hmm.
how she like poo-poos the whole Partridge Family thing and stuff like
She
that.
does.
And which is horrific of her to do because before the Partridge Family, she had only been in a high school play
Hmm.
and had done a little tiny bit of modeling. And
Right,
then
right.
she got the Partridge Family. You
And
know,
she
to me,
wasn't
it's
their
like,
first choice. She was not their first choice for the
Right.
Partridge Family. It was Olivia
Right.
Newton-John, who was actually the first choice
That's
for
right. That's
for
right.
Lori. Yeah. Years later, when the film Grease came out and was going to be cast, Susan Day was one of the producers' first choice to play Sandy. But as we
Mhm.
all know, they went with Olivia Newton-John. So that was her competition back then.
She would have been terrible.
She
as
would have been
Sandy.
horrible.
And
Yeah.
She can't sing.
But you know, Olivia Newton-John just was so much sweeter looking than I think. Don't get me wrong, Susan Day was very sweet looking. She was kind of like a girl next door look back in the day, because that's the look they were going for, is the
Yeah,
girl next
right.
door type of thing. So
Mhm.
like, you know, subtly pretty type of thing. But I don't think she could have pulled off the singing, because Susan Day and the other kids in the family, the Partridge Family, couldn't sing, which is
Right.
why Susan Day was never on any of the tracks, because she couldn't sing.
Mhm.
So let's
Mhm.
talk a little bit about the two Chris's real quick. So we have Brian Forster and Jeremy Gwelbacks.
Mhm.
Now, this was interesting. So Jeremy Gwelbacks was the very first Chris to be played, and he left after the first season. And this was interesting because I kept seeing different reports about why he left. They said in written reports, it said that he left because his father got a job out of California. But David Cassidy, Danny Bonaducci said verbally many times.
And Shirley Jones.
And Shirley Jones, correct. Yes. Many, many times that he was very difficult to deal with. He
was a little asshole.
Yeah. And
he was a little asshole.
In the little document or the little bio that Danny Bonaducci makes, he shows like he's a kid that definitely needs some Ritalin or something, you know. And that he was difficult to work with. And there was rumors that he bit David Cassidy. So I don't know if that was true, but there was rumors that he bit David Cassidy, and David's like, no, he's out of here. So I'm just going to go along with that. He was removed because he just didn't get along with the cast. I think that's an easier way to say it. The one thing I liked about Brian Forster, who was the replacement for Jeremy, who played Chris, was that he looked a little bit more like Shirley Jones. He was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid. And then on top of it, his parents made sure he learned how to play drums. So when you saw him playing, he could keep the beat. And it was like, oh, okay, this feels way more legitimate. So I did really
he was a way better actor.
Way better.
He was a way better actor than Jeremy. Jeremy, if you look at the first season, he's never really, he doesn't seem to be focused at all.
He's not very present.
Right. He almost seems like he was way too young. Like he seems like how a 4 or 5 year old would act. Well, you know, where they really can't focus. They really don't know what's going on. And then Chris comes in. Oh no, what's the name of the kid? Forster?
Brian Forster.
Brian comes in, and he looked like a little kid that knew how to act.
Yeah, he had the right fit. He should have been from the beginning, because he absolutely had the right fit. So let's move on to Dave Madden. Dave Madden was somebody I kept thinking to myself, where did he come from? I know I've seen him in other things. I just couldn't remember. So when I looked him up, he was originally from Canada. He spent a couple years trying to be a comedian there. It was not successful. He goes to LA and starts opening up as a comedian at the Beverly Hills nightclub, which ended up leading to a 10-week retention. And then one of the audience members recommended him to the Ed Sullivan Show. That audience member was Frank Sinatra. So I was like, wow,
really?
Really?
I didn't know that. Wow.
So obviously he got seen on the Ed Sullivan Show, and from there he got a spot on Camp Runamuck. I don't know if you've heard of that. But he got more attention on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In.
Right.
So I was like, oh, okay, that's where I've seen him, you know.
I do have a good Dave Madden story. So I went to St. Joseph's High School. It was all girl high school here in Lakewood, California.
Oh my gosh.
And yes, I did. And we had Sister Rose Leonard was one of the nuns that worked at the school. Yeah. And guess who her brother was?
No.
Dave Madden.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Reuben Kincaid. And so she told us that one time, and we were all like, oh my God, Reuben Kincaid, especially me being the Partridge Family fan that I was. And so he came to our campus one day. It was after school, didn't know he was coming.
Oh my God. It was
after school, and he came to see his sister, and me and my friends just happened to be hanging around after school, and we met Dave Madden. And I told Dave Madden what a huge fan I was of the Partridge Family. And yeah, he didn't sign anything. I wasn't really into autographs at the time, but
did he say
anything? Yeah, so we got to meet Dave Madden. Just hi, and thanks for being a fan. I told him I thought he was a really funny actor, and I thought him and Danny really carried the show.
Yeah.
And then I don't even think we took a picture at the time, because obviously nobody had cell phones, nobody had a camera around.
Yes.
But yeah, I got to meet Dave Madden. This was in the late 70s.
Oh, okay.
Probably 78, 77, 78. And he looked a little bit old at the time. He was a lot older than what I thought. From the Partridge Family.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, super nice guy. And his sister was a nun.
That is amazing. I would never have guessed that. That's crazy. I wanted to talk a little bit about Susan Crowe.
Suzanne Crowe, yeah.
Suzanne Crowe, yeah. She needs a little bit more credit. I do feel bad about her as an actor, because she was a cute little kid, but she didn't have a lot of acting ability in her role. And she didn't have a lot of lines. Like you said earlier, she had the lines of who, she didn't have that much.
They were the Who actors. Yeah.
And towards the end, she was close to Danny's age. She was only like 2 years younger than him. Yet he was carrying a lot more lines than she was.
Yeah.
She said hardly anything. And I feel bad about that, because what they ended up doing at the 4th season is they brought in an actor named Ricky Siegel, who played Ricky Stevens, and they added him in because they did what's called the Oliver factor. And if you don't know, or listeners don't know what the Oliver factor is, it is
from the Brady Bunch.
From the Brady Bunch, exactly. And towards the end, when all the kids in the Brady Bunch family started losing their cuteness and their adorability, they brought in cousin Oliver, who was this cute little blonde kid, and he was supposed to help bring things back, such as cuteness and ratings and stuff like that, but it never worked. Executives brought in Ricky Siegel, who played Ricky Stevens, to add to this cute kid factor. And he was cute, and he could sing. He sang quite a few songs. Yeah, it was going down a little bit because of David Cassidy's schedule. He was struggling, trying to balance everything. He was kind of over the show. And one of the fun facts that I found out about this show that would have just changed the world was that they were considering Michael Jackson as some sort of sidekick to the Partridges, but that never came to fruition. I mean, can you imagine if Michael Jackson would have came to the Partridge Family? My guess is the reason why he wouldn't or couldn't is because his father at the time would have been very strict about that contract and been wanted to make the most money. There's a whole history about the Jackson family. That would be my guess to why he could never be on the Partridge Family, is because of that reason, because of money.
So and also 2 things on the money thing. David Cassidy, at the time that he signed his contract, he was 17. And so he wasn't an adult yet.
Actually, he was only
19. Making $600.
He was 19. And
he was only, but I think you had to be 21.
You had to be 21. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. To be considered adult during those years.
Yes.
And he was only making $600 a week. at the time. So his agent figured out, like when he became 21, that he had originally signed the contract when he was 19, so he wasn't an adult, and they renegotiated that contract, and he was one of the first actors to get a piece of the show.
Yeah.
Revenue from the show. What
I saw, this is only from Dan Bonaducci's point of view. When it came to that moment, it was Shirley Jones who recognized it and had the agent come in and renegotiate that. So Shirley Jones kind of was looking after David's best interests in that. And she kind of was not only the matriarch of the family for the show, but the matriarch for everyone, all the actors of that show. Right. She really held such a strong position, was a very strong independent woman, and spoke up during a time when women were not really allowed to speak up like that. So I want to give her a lot of credit for doing that. I can tell you that being in the acting business, when you speak up, you could be considered as difficult. You could be considered as not cooperative. You'll get rumors, bitch. Yeah. So I normally don't believe that when they say that about a female actress, because you never hear that about a male one. You don't ever hear about a male actor being a bitch. You only hear about female ones.
What's interesting too is that Shirley Jones was almost not Shirley Partridge, because they had tested her for Carol Brady.
Yeah,
on the
they
Brady
did.
Bunch.
Yeah,
and, and she turned it down because she felt she was just going to be flipping pancakes and doing mom stuff on the show.
I got to tell you, I'm glad she didn't do it. I'm glad she didn't do it. And that's a great thing about Shirley Jones too, is that she was a beautiful singer back in the day. I'm assuming she still sings. She's still alive, but she had a wonderful movie career. And the one thing that people don't talk about now is that if you had a movie career back in the day, you couldn't have a TV career. If you had a TV career, it was difficult to have a movie career. Those two fields did not merge. And if they did, if you went from movie to TV, you never went back to movie. And I don't think a lot of people know or understand that. And so I think I saw some interviews with Shirley Jones, who talked about she was very reluctant to do the TV show because she didn't want her movie career to go. But the reason why she did take it is that she already had some children and she kind of wanted to stay in place. A TV career allowed her to stay in place and raise her children. And luckily for her, the show was successful and she's taken off, and she's done plenty of other movies since then. All right. So one last thing I wanted to quickly talk about was the music. They actually had wonderful music in the show, and they introduced some beautiful, beautiful songs. Some of the songs even outdid the Beatles, such as I Think I Love You knocked the Beatles out of the song Let It Be out of the top spot of the Billboard's Top 100 in 1970. One of the things that was interesting about the Partridge Family, because they were considered to be a fictitious group, they were nominated for the Best New Artist Grammy Award for 1970, but it ended up being won by the Carpenters. But just to be nominated for, that was kind of amazing.
They also had a #1 album. The Partridge Family album, their very first album, was #1 before the pilot was even released.
That is amazing. So they had other #1 hits, but I've got to ask you, what was your favorite song?
My favorite song is I'll Meet You Halfway.
I'll Meet You Halfway. That's a beautiful song. It is definitely one of their hits.
Halfway. And Sean Cassidy in 2021 did a tribute to his brother, David Cassidy, and sang I'll Meet You Halfway.
Oh, that's very nice. So I have some trivia that I wanted to give to Paula to see how much she actually knows about the Partridge Family. And I took a lot of these questions from watching almost all 4 seasons. Not all 4 seasons episodes are available out there, which is why I had difficulties finishing it. But I did get some good ones in there. And I also found these questions from Danny Bonaducci, actually. So I thought this was kind of fun. Wanted to see how much Paula Faust knows. Are you ready, Paula?
Okay.
And just for your knowledge, you don't win anything. I know, kind of.
All right, I'll still play.
All right. All right. So in one episode, Lori gets braces. Do you remember Lori getting braces?
Yeah.
However, they kept picking up on radio signals. What
Right.
music group did she keep hearing?
Oh crap. Oh my God.
What?
I'll just say something easy. The Beatles. I don't remember.
Really?
Yeah.
It was
I don't
the
remember.
Rolling Stones.
Oh, that would have been my second choice.
Right?
Crap. But I do remember her getting the
braces,
radio signal.
right?
Yeah, in the braces. Yeah.
That was cute. And that's where Mark Hamill shows up too.
Oh, okay.
That's cute. All right. So what city did Shirley get a ticket?
I thought it was Las Vegas.
It was
No?
Crater City. And that's where the bus breaks down and Harry Morgan has a mustache and we're all supposed to be fooled by it. All right. What was Shirley Partridge's maiden name?
Renfro?
Fru. Pretty close. Renfrew. Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah, that's pretty good. All right. Ding, ding, ding. You got it.
Yeah.
All right. What hotel did the Partridges do for their very first professional gig?
It was in Hollywood. Beverly Hills Hotel?
Not
It's
even
not in
close.
Hollywood.
It was in Las Vegas at the Caesar's Palace.
Oh, crap.
I'm sorry. I thought you were a fan.
I am a fan. I just don't have a great memory, and I didn't binge all 4 seasons
Whatever.
like somebody.
Whatever. All right.
I got one for you. I got one for you.
All right. Go for it.
VH1 did a remake of The Partridge Family.
Oh, I did not see
And what Academy Award winning actress played Lori?
that. Jodie Foster.
Close, Emma Stone.
Oh, okay. Because I know
Who
Jodie
at the-
Foster was in the
She
show.
played Danny. She played Danny's wannabe girlfriend.
That's right.
But Emma Stone was actually in the credits. She's Emily Stone.
Oh,
Not even Emma
fancy.
Stone.
Mm.
I know.
All right. I got 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
When Danny was convinced that he was not going to survive his tonsillectomy, to whom did he leave his AT&T stock to?
Ruben.
Tracy.
Tracy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay.
All right. Final question.
These are obscure, girl.
How are they obscure? I knew all these answers. I knew every single, including this
What?
next one.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
What was the license plate number of the Partridge Family bus? You saw the bus a million times.
I
in the
know, but I
show.
always saw
Nervous mother driving.
Nervous mom driving.
Mhm.
I don't know that one.
NLX 590.
Like I'm supposed to know that.
I
That's
saw
not
it.
important.
I saw it. I saw it. Well, listen, Paula, I can't thank you enough for doing the show with me. This has been a great episode. I can't wait for everyone to hear this. If you want to hear or see any of Paula Faust's comedy, what is your Instagram page?
It's my name. It's at Paula Faust.
Okay. And I'll also include a link for it for anyone who's interested. This has been Ladies on a Roll. Please subscribe to this channel and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you all. Thank you, Paula.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.